Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego's Democratic congressional delegates are calling on Congress to pass legislation to rein in ICE. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Outside the federal courthouse in downtown San Diego, Representatives Scott Peters, Sarah Jacobs, Mike Levin, and Juan Vargas say recent DHS actions show the urgent need. And KPBS reporter Alexander Wynn is live in the newsroom with the details. Alex.
Maya, Scott Peters introduced the Stop Excessive Force in Immigration Act last November. Since then, DHS and ICE tactics have gotten more brutal. He points to the recent fatal shootings of Nicole Good and Alex Pretty as examples.
Neither should be dead today.
Peters says federal immigration officers have wreaked chaos in American cities and violated the Constitution.
Protesters are brutalized. Homes are searched without judicial warrants. Subjects are targeted for enforcement based solely on their skin color.
Following the violent immigration crackdown in San Diego and Los Angeles last summer, Peters introduced the Stop Excessive Force in Immigration Act. The bill would set a higher standard for DHS use of force and set strict limits on the use of tear gas and flashbangs. Peters introduced the bill in November. So what's changed?
Murder.
Specifically, the recent fatal shootings in Minnesota. Representative Juan Vargas was more evocative.
Murder has changed. I mean, it's fascinating to me how things have changed. Even if you look at the administration right now, they really are backtracking because they're telling us not to trust our eyes. They're telling us don't believe what you see.
Representative Sarah Jacobs was more forceful.
We need to dismantle and overhaul ICE. They've lost any mandate for immigration enforcement, and they've lost all trust of the American people.
The representatives say they are in talks with their Senate counterparts who have a Friday deadline to pass a funding bill to prevent a partial government shutdown. They say they are willing to shut down the government over DHS funding because they feel the issue is that important. Live in the newsroom, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Thank you, Alex. And we'll have more on the possible shutdown in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, the public face of ICE operations in Minneapolis will soon return to Southern California. Greg Bovino will return to his previous position leading the Border Patrol sector in El Centro. Our news partner, KGTV, spoke with a retired Border Patrol agent who worked closely with Bovino when the two were assistant chiefs in Washington. He says that Bovino is respected within the agency despite the recent controversy.
The thing about it is there's different sites on Facebook that the retired agents can go on, and everybody there is saying all the sector chiefs, all the 20 sector chiefs in the sectors now should be like him. You know, they praise him, and, you know, he's a hero, and why is he getting, you know, so much slack?
Bovino's departure doesn't mean the ICE campaign is over in Minnesota. The White House is sending its border czar, Tom Homan, to take over the lead role.
Well, we are dealing with some somewhat chilly overnight weather, and it may be cool near the coast, but it is a little bit nippy out there into the areas, just a little inland, Escondido, Ramona, even Oceanside, 39. So some chilly nights, but pleasant days. Look at the contrast here through midweek. The eastern 60% of the nation just really locked into some extraordinarily cold air. Some spots even dabbling with records, but we're in pretty good shape here. Storm state to the north with rain way up in the northwest. Details ahead.
San Diego Unified took a major step toward providing affordable housing for its employees. The district's board voted last night to advance proposals to build more than 1,500 affordable units across 3 sites. And those include Commercial Street, Cardinal Lane, and the largest site, Normal Street. District leaders say the cost of living in San Diego makes it difficult to recruit and retain teachers. This project aims to address that.
All of us have our eyes wide open about taking this project from concept to reality. We didn't want to just sit back and say, hey, the affordable housing crisis is a problem. Please, somebody else fix that for us.
Monday's decision only moves the proposals forward. It doesn't mean that the projects have been approved. A final agreement is not expected until spring of 2027. There is a new effort to suspend parking fees in Balboa Park for San Diego residents. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the move would worsen the city's budget deficit.
Since the start of paid parking in Balboa Park on January 5th, there's been a significant backlash. Museums say attendance is down, pay stations have been vandalized, and residents have complained about confusion with the online portal where they can purchase parking passes. Council President Joe LaCava today joined two of his council colleagues to propose suspending the parking fees for city residents. Non-residents would still pay between $10 and $16 per day or $300 per year. LaCava acknowledged if the city council approves the change on February 9th, there would be consequences.
First, simply a reduction in revenue that we were counting on to balance this year's budget. In the next few weeks, we will be discussing mid-year adjustments to keep us on track for a balanced budget. The cuts that will be announced soon will have to be deeper with the reduction in revenue if this proposal is ratified.
Also today, the city council retreated on another parking policy they had previously agreed to, charging at some parking meters on Sundays. Councilmember Stephen Whitburn said he could support that change only if residents who live near the parking meters could purchase a permit that gives them unlimited parking on Sundays. But it soon became clear there was no majority that could support that permit program. The proposal died a quick death.
I agreed to this permit process as a way to try to minimize the impact on my residents, but if we can move forward without having paid parking in my neighborhoods on Sundays, that is what I support, so I will withdraw the motion.
Without the residential permit program, parking meters in residential and mixed-use neighborhoods will remain free on Sundays. After the back-and-forth discussion, the city's independent budget analyst had a warning for the council.
It is certainly council's decision whether or not to implement this fee. There are consequences to choosing not to implement it, and those consequences are the need to identify revenue elsewhere or to identify corresponding cuts.
The city council and mayor are now heading into a difficult and contentious budget season. They'll have to cut spending on things like libraries, parks, infrastructure, and public safety faster and more deeply than they had originally planned. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A new California law is prompting local governments to adjust parking citation fees for those experiencing hardship. KPBS Penner fellow Emmy Burris went to a parking lot by Mission Bay, where the new law could help one local family.
You get so mad. I swear I used to keep them all, but you get so mad at them every night, you just grab the paper and just throw it out and don't even want to look at it.
Astrid Alessio lives with her husband and two young daughters in a Mission Bay parking lot. Their RV is one of many vehicles in the lot that people here call home. Plastic lawn chairs at the door of Alessio's camper create a sort of porch. Alessio's little chihuahua sticks his head out of the passenger side window. The family's bicycles sit in a rack on the back of the RV. Trash bags on top of the stationary vehicle are filled with cans they collect to make some money. Alessio and her family ended up living here after their house flooded in the record-breaking storms of 2024. She used tax refunds to buy the mobile home, which is now broken down and too expensive to fix.
We don't have enough money to go and get our registers up to date, our tags up to date. And with that and the tickets and feeding our kids, it's really hard. I wish they could do something about it.
At the beginning of January, Alessio said she had gotten about $1,000 worth of tickets in less than 3 weeks. California recently passed a bill to help people avoid falling into the cycle of debt. It makes it clear to local jurisdictions they can reduce or waive parking fees in extreme cases of documented homelessness or financial hardship. A City of San Diego spokesperson said they have not changed any policy on parking citations. But other areas have changed. A La Mesa City spokesperson says they are now reducing and waiving parking fees for low-income individuals under the new law. San Diego County, Lemon Grove, and Oceanside now reduce fees for qualifying individuals. V.T. Doe is a sheriff's lieutenant with the county. He says someone qualifies for a reduction if they are receiving public benefits or have a monthly income that is at or below 200% of the federal poverty line. The county decided not to offer total waivers at this time.
If we don't have a form of accountability with a flat waiver, then it's tough for us to beat that balanced approach.
The legislation also lifts any time limits on when a person can request a payment plan after receiving a parking citation. Before, most jurisdictions had an 120-day window. Back at the Mission Bay parking lot, Alessio thinks expanding that window might help, but with tickets coming in every day, she doesn't know when she'll ever finish paying them. Rows of large vehicles surround the bay, many of them home to families like Alessio's, and many have parking tickets on their windshields. Parking is prohibited at Mission Bay Park every day from 2 to 4 a.m. Alessio has received multiple warnings that her vehicle could be towed. She's usually asked to go to a parking lot that's meant for overnight stays before being ticketed. But she says it would cost too much in gas to get there, and it's too far from her kid's school. Now, her youngest daughter stays up at night, worrying the police will take her parents or her home.
I'm afraid to lose my RV because it's the only thing I have. And if they take my RV, where am I going to stay with my kids?
For more information on parking citations, visit the website of the city or county that issued the ticket. Emmy Burris, KPBS News.
Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNews Source, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, how the Trump administration is trying to contain the fallout from the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The latest fatal shooting by federal agents in Minneapolis continues to send ripple effects throughout the nation. The odds of a government shutdown have now increased. As Brian Abel reports, some Democrats are refusing to support funding for the Department of Homeland Security.
Some Democrats in Congress believe with a potential government shutdown on the horizon, they now have a political opportunity to send a message to the Trump administration and cut funding to DHS in the wake of a second U.S. citizen killed by federal agents. Escalating tensions between the community and federal immigration authorities in Minneapolis, now creating a battle over government funding on Capitol Hill. That could lead to a partial shutdown.
What we're witnessing right now is it's completely out of control.
The fatal shooting of Alex Preddy by federal agents appears to be the tipping point for some Democrats who are vowing to withhold votes on an appropriations package for multiple government agencies, including the Departments of Defense, Transportation, and Homeland Security, unless DHS reins in its immigration enforcement actions.
We need systemic changes here before we move forward with the appropriations.
The Democratic caucus calling for DHS funding to be separated from the other funding bills.
Take up DHS by itself. Let's have an honest negotiation, put some guardrails on what's going on, some accountability, and that would solve this problem. We don't have to have a shutdown.
The White House, so far, isn't on board.
Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions, but that should not be at the expense of government funding for the American people.
If all Senate Republicans vote yes, they need at least 8 Democrats to join them to get the funding passed. But if the sides cannot come together by midnight Friday, once again, thousands of government workers across agencies, from the Pentagon to air traffic controllers to TSA, will be impacted. Now, the House already passed this funding package, so if the Senate makes any changes at all to it, then Speaker Mike Johnson has to get all of the House members back to approve a new version to get to the president's desk. That all has to happen by Saturday to avoid a shutdown. In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
Meanwhile, tensions are rising in California after federal agents stop a woman and question her about where she came from. Video of the incident has since gone viral, and residents are demanding change. Tom Waite reports.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it?
outrage in Alhambra after this video went viral. It was recorded by Angie Vargas. Vargas was tracking immigration agents in Alhambra last week. As she pulls to the side of the road, Alhambra police can be clearly seen pulling in front of her, blocking her in. A tense exchange ensued.
Stopping in the middle of the road. I'm not stopping in the middle of the road.
Vargas, along with a crowd of supporters, gathered at Alhambra City Hall Monday night to confront the city's mayor and city council at their meeting. The crowd packed council chambers as Vargas spoke out.
It is a shame and an embarrassment that constitutional rights were treated as optional that day.
During Vargas's encounter with Alhambra police last week, Vargas, a U.S. citizen, was also confronted by masked federal agents.
What country are you a citizen of? Of America. Okay. The United States.
You do know that it is illegal to impede.
I'm not impeding. These federal agents were given access to me. They questioned my citizenship and basically intimidated me. Alhambra PD gave them access to me, and it's like, enough.
Alhambra police released a statement claiming they were responding to a call for service for a driver running red lights and making U-turns. The department says they were trying to de-escalate the situation. Vargas disputes their claim and says Alhambra police unlawfully intervened as she was legally monitoring agents.
I could have been the next Renee Good. Why? Because of these officers.
In council chambers packed with angry residents and supporters, the city's mayor said the incident is under review.
So we've all seen the videos from the incident last Monday, and I don't think in this setting it would be helpful to debate what everyone saw. At the end of the incident, no arrests were made, no citations were issued, and fortunately, after less than 5 minutes, the situation ended and people went on their way. Could have been worse, right? We've seen what has happened in other parts of the country.
Tom Waite with that report. The mayor reiterated Alhambra is a sanctuary city that does not collaborate or coordinate with federal immigration agents. The anti-ICE protests in Minneapolis is causing concern that the same thing could happen in San Diego. Protesters here are demanding clarity from police about their role in federal immigration enforcement operations. Our media partner KGTV spoke to one of the 6 protesters who barricaded themselves in Mayor Todd Gloria's office last Friday.
These are injustices, and they're happening across the country. And when they come to San Diego, we want our police department to be very clear about what they're doing when they show up to these ICE raids.
We're not ICE. We don't have anything to do with ICE. We're law enforcement. We keep the peace. Even if you're federal law enforcement or a civilian, you call for us to keep the peace, we will keep the peace.
SCPD maintains it does not share information with ICE under state law, nor do San Diego police participate in federal immigration enforcement. The Marine Corps is trying to put modern technology in the hands of more Marines. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer takes us to Camp Pendleton, where members of the infantry are learning to be drone pilots.
Marines work together to fly the Neros Archer first-person drone. Members of the Marine Corps attack drone team based in Quantico, Virginia, have been training these local Marines to fly. Today, they're learning to crash, kind of. Lieutenant Colonel James Nyland is the director of schools at the 1st Marine Division.
And what that'll look like is you'll see one will be the actual pilot. There will be another Marine who's the team leader, who's also serving as a navigator, who's watching in a screen what the pilot is flying. So the pilot will have goggles on, and then there will be another screen that he'll be able to watch. He'll see exactly what that pilot is seeing.
The pilot will guide the drone to its target where it'll detonate, all in first-person view.
It does feel like a video game.
Lance Corporal Nicholas Miller is an anti-tank gunner with 3rd Company 7th Marines. He's also a newly qualified drone pilot. While the drones might be flown like in a video game, he says with the Archer, there's no easy mode.
It's hard to start off. You have to be very gentle. The controls are, very finicky, and there's no assistance at all.
And he says flying yourself into a target takes some getting used to.
It is kind of strange, but it's also cool at the same time.
Special Operations Forces have used these types of kinetic drones on battlefields before, but now the Marines want to get this cutting-edge technology into the hands of their infantry forces. Nyland says it's also
very, very cost-effective way for Marines to use a system that's incredibly lethal, to have effects that typically, at least within the United States, we saw in technology that was much more advanced or much more expensive.
Reporting from Camp Pendleton, Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
As a major storm continues to sweep the rest of the nation, the February forecast in San Diego calls for drier than average conditions. That's after months of several rainstorms. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga shares what this means for wildfire risks.
This time last year, Southern California experienced extremely dry weather. Those conditions, coupled with fierce Santa Ana winds, fueled the deadly fires in Los Angeles County. Things are very different this year. Many parts of San Diego County just had the wettest New Year's Day on record. And since October, rainfall totals have nearly doubled what the region normally gets on average.
We had very little, if any, rainfall going into the January month. Compared to this year, we have a lot of moisture. We've had a lot of precipitation.
Mike Cornett is a captain with CAL FIRE San Diego County. He says the recent wet period has kept fuel moisture high, something firefighters want to see into the summer because
the drier the fuel gets throughout the summer is typically when we start seeing the larger wildland fires.
San Diego County is looking at a dry stretch of weather for the foreseeable future. The National Weather Service says February will kick off pretty dry and warm, even though it's one of the wettest months in the region. Cornett says the shift toward a dry spell doesn't guarantee a worse fire season, although
we're not completely out of the woods yet, but we're in a much better place.
For the public, he says this is the perfect time to create defensible space around their homes. The more you thin out the vegetation, the easier it'll be come summer when it's dry. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
We've got some cool weather for the coast, but chilly weather overnight in inland areas. Overall, though, we've got it pretty easy compared to other parts of the nation. We'll look at that in a few seconds here. There is a gradual warming trend that's going to bring a little bit more warmth into the region for the weekend. Storm track is going to stay way up to the north, hundreds of miles up to the north. It's mainly far northern California and primarily Washington and Oregon getting the moisture now. That's where the rain and snow in the west can be found. Tonight we'll get down to 47 degrees, a mainly clear night. Pretty pleasant for us here. Inland areas will be a lot colder than this, though, into the 30s for some. And what a contrast here at midweek. You can see we're dealing with frigid weather across the east, cold air all the way down to the southeast. Many still without power in Mississippi, parts of extreme northeast Louisiana, East Carroll Parish into areas around Greenville and Greenwood, just south of Greenville and Greenwood, Mississippi, up into Tennessee as well. The Great Lakes, above average ice cover. Lake Erie is iced over at this point, so there's some lower octane lake effect snow there. Very different here in Southern California. We've got dry weather winning out for Wednesday, and we can't complain about this kind of thing. Upper 60s into San Diego, 69 degrees. Chula Vista, 68. El Cajon, 73. Borrego Springs will be around 69 degrees, looking good, quiet and bright for Thursday. Not a whole lot of action to report regionally here. That's good news for us. Friday, the map doesn't change a whole lot. Snow way over there on the other side of the Rockies into the plains. So we do look good and dry. So as we get into the specifics here, coastal forecast, we will see a pretty good rise in temperatures back into the 70s soon, and it's going to be a noticeable change Thursday, Friday, after that somewhat cool Wednesday. Inland areas, also big rise. We're going to get warm, if not borderline hot for this time of the year. Low to mid 80s for some. In the mountains here, more of a muted rise from the low 50s or near 50 Wednesday to the mid 50s coming up, staying bright and dry. And in the deserts, we're going to make a run to near 80 degrees come Sunday. That's after upper 60s on Wednesday. So still a little cool to start, but we're going to see a big rise up in temperatures through the weekend. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
The stage is set for Super Bowl 60 in the Bay Area. The Seattle Seahawks will face off against the New England Patriots in Santa Clara on February 8th. Dustin Dorsey has a look at the preparations now underway across the region.
The matchups are set and the transformation is underway at Levi's Stadium. Plans are turning into preparation for Super Bowl 60.
We're incredibly proud to welcome the world to Silicon Valley.
And the Valley Transportation Authority is ready to take people where they need to go. VTA has been holding trainings for operators and maintaining the fleet of buses and light rails for the event. 22 extra trains will run Super Bowl Sunday to help move an expected VTA record 25,000 fans on game day.
We have taken every lesson we learned from serving Super Bowl 50 10 years ago and built it even stronger, smarter, and have a more efficient plan for Super Bowl 60.
In San Jose, an all-new visitor center celebrated its grand opening Monday. Steps from San Jose State and downtown, the locker room is where visitors can learn about where to spend time in the city, host a podcast in the free studio, or even load up on gear of local teams. Just one of many ways the city aims to take advantage of being on the global stage.
Because it's never about the event, it's about what we can do around an event. The intent of this visitor center is a one-stop concierge service for our residents, our patrons, and our partners.
Part of the preparations across the Bay Area will be how jurisdictions manage potential ICE enforcement during Super Bowl week. It was a topic of discussion at many press events on Monday. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie emphasized that the Super Bowl will be a safe event for visitors and locals. Back in October, the Department of Homeland Security promised ICE will be present. Lurie says there is fear and anger after the recent events in Minnesota and wants everyone to know his city's stance ahead of the festivities.
We will continue to uphold San Francisco's long-standing policies that keep local law enforcement focused on keeping our city safe, not federal immigration enforcement.
VTA will also monitor ICE activity, but they are unaware of any specific actions ahead of the Super Bowl.
And here is a look at what we are working on for tomorrow. In the KPBS newsroom, NPR's Morning Edition talks with the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics about why the group is breaking with the CDC on vaccine recommendations for children. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.